Hello and welcome to the Future of Luxury podcast series. I'm Sarah Vaughan. I'm an innovator, sustainable business advisor, creative brands with purpose, and host of the Start Somewhere series. I'm delighted to welcome an amazing guest to join us today, the wonderful and very inspiring Kate Wylie, who's the Chief Sustainability Officer at Chanel and President of Fondation CHANEL. Welcome, Kate. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
So it's wonderful to have you here. I'm so thrilled you're here. And I'm longing to find out how you started somewhere. Tell us a bit about your background and how you grew up and got into sustainability.
I've always worked in sustainable business and the belief that, business, nature and people can thrive together. I worked in smaller companies to start with and then moved into, larger businesses like eBay, Mars and then Chanel. But your question is more about how I started.
Yes.
And so I think there's probably two bits that were very influential that I just thought were normal. Was first about, I had quite a few sort of strong women in my life that worked flexibly, and we thought that was sort of normal. So, for example, my grandmother, who's now well into her 90s,
Wow.
she worked when I was a child, and actually she still was working and had her own business in her 80s.
Good Lord.
Yes, I know. I know. And my mother's the same. She's had a number of her own businesses and is still working, at the moment as well. So, that was part that was
So it's genetically
Exactly. Yes, and then also, my father too. So he started an environmental business over 30 years ago. So
My
again,
goodness, I mean, like in sort of like the early ages of
sustainability. Exactly.
Goodness.
And so I sort of grew up thinking that it was very normal for business and nature to be sort of connected with each other. And so, he started a clean technology fund in the UK. He started one of the first sustainability recruitment companies and an asset management.
Good Lord.
Invested in the long-term sustainability issues. So yes, sitting around the dinner table, it was sort of men and women were equal in the workplace, and business and nature went hand in hand.
Gosh, that's so inspiring. So tell us, when and how did you find your purpose? Because, you grew up in this environment,
Yes.
but, it's about, when did you step into knowing what you wanted to do?
Yes. I think, if I reflect, there's probably a couple of conscious moments of choice in this. One would have been when at university. So I studied economics and was thinking about a career in sort of finance and banking, and went in these placements, and you sort of go and learn more. And I started to think, well, I feel like there's a lot of money being made, but
Yes.
Can't business, also make money as well as having a positive impact on people and the planet? And so, it's just about reframing what success is about,
Yes.
and so sort of wanted to explore more how I could do that. And at the time, it wasn't so normal in larger
Not at all,
organisations. And so, there was a thing called green drinks in London where you would go to this pub. Yes.
I was NFI.
And you would go and you'd sit and debate, this concept of people,
Wow.
planet, performance, and, around the times of sort of John Elkington and
Yes,
the Triple
of
P and
course.
things. And so, funnily enough, that has grown from this small green drinks in a sort of pub in the corner of London somewhere into the crowd, which was in the end, this monthly, very grand sort of event. So that was my first moment where I, was absolutely convinced, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in business, but I wanted to also work in transforming businesses to think sort of holistically about their impacts. And I think the second one was when I became a mother, and I knew I wanted to carry on working and I wanted to have a career, but I also wanted to be a sort of present mother. And so thinking through, how do you sort of incorporate both those into your life? And so, yes, both the what and the how.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. And I think there are a lot of women still kind of struggling to find that
Yes,
balance.
absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about Chanel. I'm sure everybody's dying to find out a little bit more. You know, you're living your purpose there now. So what does that look like for you?
Yes, absolutely. So I've been here nearly 4 years now, and I have this dual role.
I can't believe it.
I mean,
the time has
flown by. So I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer, and then also President and Chair, as you said, of Fondation CHANEL. And so, you know, when I think about how, you know, I can live my purpose, it's both sort of with the company, with my role, and then also with my team. So with the company, you know, I mean,
because it is like, I mean, this is an iconic heritage brand.
It is
founded by an amazing woman.
It is, absolutely. And it's been around for over 100 years, and it'll be, you know, around for more than 100 years and beyond as well. And, you know, we really think through, you know, how do we continue for more than 100 years and create a sustainable business? And, you know, I think, you know, it's fair to say we're absolutely committed to rolling forwards on sustainability. So that's sort of embedded into its core of who we are. And then in my role, I have these two sort of parts. So as Chief Sustainability Officer, I have the honour of leading, you know, the organisation on the sort of sustainable transformation. And so we have our sustainability ambition, which focuses on the areas where we want to have and we believe we can have the greatest positive impact. So there's 4 of them, which is about restoring nature and climate, investing in circularity, advancing dignity and opportunity for all that we work with a specific focus on promoting the autonomy of women. And as well, we believe that, you know, we have over 36,000 people in Chanel, and so we can activate all of those as agents of change in this transformation.
Absolutely.
So that's on the sustainability side. And then as well, I have the honour of being sort of chair and president of Fondation CHANEL. And, you know, Fondation CHANEL has an incredible mission. It's for women and girls to be free to shape their own destiny. And it focuses on these 3 areas of safety, economic autonomy, and climate resilience. And we added in climate resilience in the last year. And since I joined, it's really scaled up. So it was 20 million, and it's moved to over 120 million donated by the company.
That's staggering.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
It is, 120 million a year. And we have partners across the world, and our current programmes impact the lives of more than 9 million women and girls, and many millions more through policy and systems change.
That's astonishing.
Yes, so it's absolutely both the sustainable transformation and then the sort of philanthropic effort as well. And then the last part, last but not least, is my team. You know, we have quite a significant team now working on sustainability and in the foundation. And it's just such a pleasure to see them all sort of grow and become the best that they could be as individuals, but then also that collective energy as well. So that's the sort of 3 areas, I suppose, on, you know, with the company, the role, and then also my team.
I mean, it's fantastic, and yeah, I've been lucky enough to meet some of your team, and I mean, they are live wires and very driven.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
know, to really genuinely embed sustainability into Chanel. I mean, it's a real joy to see.
Yeah.
So you're working in the luxury sector. You know, luxury is a much, you know, debated word. You know, for you personally, what does luxury mean?
Yes, good question. So for me personally, you know, true luxury is finding balance. I think it's finding balance between being the mother you want to be, the professional you want to be, the partner you want to be, the family member you want to be, and the friend you want to be. And if you can find balance with all of those factors, then I believe, you know, that's when you can truly thrive.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's a very difficult balance to find.
It
I
is,
mean, particularly as women, you know, that, you know, we tend to juggle so many things simultaneously. So, no, it's very inspiring and a good reminder to all of us that we need to work on that. So, Kate, how are you actually embedding sustainability and purpose into Chanel?
Yeah, good question. So, when I joined, you know, one of the things that was lucky sort of from the start was that sustainability was being set up and it was a separate function. You know, so I sit on the executive team, I report into the CEO, and it's really seen as another function along finance, HR, legal, and so on. And that means it's truly embedded into the fabric of the organisation from the start, and it really makes a difference.
Yes, it really does.
It really does. So I see there's three things when I'm thinking about a transformation and embedding sustainability into the business. It's about commitments, it's about the rigour and accountability of sustainability and treating that as you would do, sort of financials, and then activating all our people as agents of change, which I mentioned earlier. So if I sort of, how does that, come to life is, with the commitments, you want to have commitments that are sort of real, that you're dedicated to them.
And that you're actually going to meet.
Exactly, and that are appropriate, and the right ones. So, for example, net zero 2040, in line with the Paris Agreement, validated by Science-Based Targets Initiative, Scope 1, 2, and 3. That's the right thing to do, and those are the right commitments, and sort of to be taken sort of seriously, which comes on to my next part, which is about the rigour and accountability. I work very closely with the CFO. In fact, we share a team, the Sustainability Performance team, that then, is really about ensuring we have the right plans, and then we track the performance as you would do, financial performance as well. And then weaving it into performance incentives, so company bonus schemes too. Sustainability is there alongside our financial
That's
results
so
too.
key. I mean, I've always found that if you don't have sustainability embedded as a KPI, it just doesn't really happen fast enough.
Exactly. So it shows the seriousness that a company's, taking it.
That's great.
And then the last part is our people, and activating them all as agents of change. And so we have the Sustainability Academy, which is really about sort of changing the mindset on sustainability, because, so everybody can understand, what we need to deliver and why, and then embed it into their plans. And so we've partnered with the University of Cambridge for a number of years now, and we've carried out sort of two major things. So first of all, over 500 Chanel leaders have gone on sort of residential bespoke programs to really understand, the sort of challenges on sustainability, and then workshop their sort of big bets or activations to drive the change that are embedded into their, business plans. And then also it's about everybody across our house. And so we have sort of training courses on our sustainability ambition, and then sort of specialist function courses, for example, in finance as well.
So it really is a properly top-down approach.
Yeah, well, it's across, it's across. And actually the training, the e-learning has sort of people from across the house as part of it as well. So yes, truly is sort of embedded both on the sort of commitments, the rigour and accountability, and then activating everyone as agents of change.
Very cool. So that's truly impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Kate, what's the one thing you think that luxury companies should be doing now to ensure a better future for all of us?
Yeah. So I think it's about leveraging the unique role that luxury companies play and pulling on all three levers of its own transformation, its resources and its influence, because luxury has an incredible ability to transform, leverage its resources and its influence. And I'll give you an example of this, if I may, in Women and Climate.
Yes.
It's 2025, and we know that women are 14 times more likely to die in climate.
Shocking.
Exactly, in 2025, climate-related disaster than men. We know that in climate financing, 0.01% goes to gender. And we saw in the COP negotiations, there aren't that many women sort of in part. Exactly. So they're not sufficiently seen, they're not sufficiently heard, they're not sufficiently invested in. And we're not going to be able to address the climate crisis unless, that changes. And so, when I think about the role a luxury brand could play and how Chanel is playing in this, it's, as I said, own transformation, resources and influence. So on our own transformation, we talked earlier about how we have net zero 2040 validated by Science-Based Targets Initiatives and across scopes 1, 2 and 3, and taking and approaching it with the same rigour and accountability we do our financial results. So real transformation. On the resources side of things with Fondation CHANEL, and that's the third strategic pillar of Fondation CHANEL, is about women-led climate resilience. Amazing. And we've committed over 50 million to date to help address that and elevate the voices of women in this crisis. And then our influence as well. You know, for example, we signed the letter with a number of other women climate leaders on asking for the organisational committee of COP29 to have women.
I remember that,
as part of it. We hosted, you know, recently I hosted a gathering of women chief sustainability officers. You know, there's more women than men chief sustainability officers now in major companies,
incredible.
Which is interesting. But I think, you know, something that, you know, we want to hold on to as climate leaders is nurturing ourselves as well as nurturing others, and then you'll be able to sort of really sort of empower that transformation. So that sort of gives you an example of, I think, how a luxury brand can pull on all three levers to drive a sustainable transformation.
And I mean, that's true. I mean, working in sustainability and purpose can be an exhausting task. I mean, you know, and there are a lot of kind of eternal worries in this day and age, and things, you know, can look politically to be going backwards or forwards or sideways. So, you know, how do you stay, you know, positive and resilient in these times?
I think I'm a relentless optimist. And so, you know, there's one thing is staying clear on the long-term vision. You know, I've worked in sustainability for over 20 years now, and you see these things come in cycles. You know, when I started, people didn't really understand, you know, what I was doing, you know, what we were trying to achieve, you know, with this sort of new concept, a sort of evolving concept of a sort of business. And then, you know, or sort of questioned whether we needed these roles within business. And so, you know, it's about, you know, sort of really staying clear to long-term, being clear on your long-term vision, but also then ensuring we're part of it too. So that's the first part, so being clear on that long-term vision. The second thing I do is surround myself with people that give me positive energy. You know, it's scientifically proven that it's contagious. It's a bit like yawning. You know, if you're with someone that has positive energy, you know, the ripple effects of that are quite tremendous. So it's not pretending that everything's positive. You know, so this is a time to reflect, not retreat, right? So it's not pretending it's all positive, but it's about really sort of surrounding yourself with those people. So, for example, hosted a dinner recently, and we had, you know, the likes of Paul Polman there, the CEO of the Natural History Museum, the CEO of the King's Foundation, and one of the things we all did was shared something. There was evidence of sort of change, and it gave us hope. And you left that with such sort of inspiring, you know, such an inspiring moment, and you left that, you know, really believing in the future that we all wanted to create. So I think it's about, you know, as I said, it's about both sort of staying clear on the long term and the future you want to create, and then surrounding yourself with positive energy in order to get there.
I think those are extremely wise words. I mean, thank you so much to Kate for joining us today. I mean, she's such an inspiration and a joy, and you know, certainly I am leaving feeling very hopeful about the future. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you.